Hey everyone, it's John here from MCKAY, back with another video. And this video, I'm here with Wardy, NHL, a legend. He also does Mets content, so I'll link all of his stuff in the description. But we're here to talk about the Rangers. Big expectations for the New York Rangers in a tough Metro division this year. So Wardy, how you been doing? And let us know just off the bat, what are your expectations for the Rangers and how you're feeling about this team?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me come on. Always love to talk about my Rangers, something that I feel like I don't get to do enough nowadays. But yeah, I'm really excited getting this one and just initial gut reaction of the Rangers going into the season. I'm pretty excited. I will say that there is a slight confusion on my part just because, this is everything has changed drastically, as you know, for the Rangers in a short period of time, leading up till the end of this past season. So there's a lot of question marks to be had, but still the full belief is that the Rangers are going to make playoffs this year. I stand by that. I'm really pumped to see what JAROD GALLANT is going to do with this system, this crop of players that we have going for each other, and just seeing the different type of style and hopefully more of a consistency, if you will, something that I haven't been able to experience in a while, having David Quinn as coach for the past few years. Now that we get a veteran in here, I think it's only going to be great things for the Rangers ahead.
Yeah, and we kind of talked on DMs about JAROD GALLANT and potentially just helping the breakout of certain players. And we saw it in Vegas, like when he stepped in with Vegas, like players started breaking out. So let's talk about that. Do you see the potential of guys like, obviously we've seen flashes, but KAKKO, LAFRENIERE, Kravtsov, Keandre Miller, certain guys like that. Do you see them being the massive part of this team, or do you think they're still going to take that kind of step back from the Panarins and Zibanejads of this team? What's your mindset there? Because I mean, for me, I'm hoping these two guys explode this year.
Yeah, me too. And I think that they're going to do just that. And one of the biggest things, unfortunately, for the Rangers and their development, what young players the past couple of years has really just been, they've been in a full rebuild, if you will, retool, however you want to call it, but they've lacked consistency with ice time with guys that are definitely more warranted of ice time, given the fact that these are our future. Kakko, second overall pick a couple of years ago. Like, he is our guy. Alexis Lafreniere, first overall pick a year ago. Like, that's our guy too. So they need to make sure that they're having consistent playing time in their top six, in the top line. And I fully expect them to get that this year. And I think that's going to be huge for their development. Like Alexi, just a brief on him. I thought he had a perfectly fine rookie year, had a slow start, but I really wasn't all that concerned with it from how his actual play was. He's always hustling every single shift. And he has such a great infectious personality. He's always happy to be there. He's always learning. And, there's a reason why he's been coveted as that first overall pick since he was a young kid. So I have unbelievably high expectations for him. I think he's going to have a great sophomore year here. Then you look at other guys like Kakko. Kakko did everything last year, but be consistent offensively, even in a role when he was bouncing between the top six and the bottom six. He was one of the top two-way forwards in all of hockey last year, and that cannot be pushed aside whatsoever. He was polar opposite of what he was in his rookie year, and I think the benefit of not having to, play hockey a whole year in his first year, which is what he did between juniors and playing, of course, in Finland and then getting drafted, all that was a lot from his rookie year. It was a little overwhelming, but his sophomore year saw a lot of progression. He's bulked up a lot this offseason too. He looks like an absolute horse. I think he's bound to really break out. If the Rangers are going to go anywhere this year, and years going forward, it's going to be in hand and led by these two guys. And then Keandre Miller, who really stepped up, came out of nowhere. I didn't even expect him to make the Rangers out of camp last year, and he did. He looked awesome. Had his struggles. You can definitely tell he's still a little raw in some aspects of his game defensively, but I expect him to have a good year. And again, this young wave, this crop of players, they're all going to be getting consistent ice time. That's the belief. And to have Alexi, Capo potentially playing on the same line at times, or just in general, having that comfortability that they're going to be consistently in your top six, getting upwards of 20 minutes a night. That is how they're going to have continued success. All it takes is just more progress being on the ice consistently. And, I'm really excited. I think that their future is unbelievably high, and Rangers fans should not overlook just how much hype are with these guys, what they've done analytically as well, and especially with Kakko. As I mentioned already, a lot of people are doubting Kakko, think he's a bust because of his point production. You're clearly not looking at the underlying numbers that are most important. He reminds me so much of other guys, even guys similar to an extent that are currently with Florida that JAROD GALLANT once coached, and guys like Sasha Barkov, Huberdeau. They had slow starts to their career offensively and then really soared, and here they are now. And I see a lot of similarities with Kakko and those guys' playing style. And I'm really excited to see what they're going to do this season.
Yeah, I like the mention of Huberdeau because Huberdeau was a very late kind of development. So you at the start, you saw the skill level kind of in the same way of Kakko, but until 4 or 5 years in, then you saw the explosion. So I think we could see that from Kakko in the next couple of years. So I guess specifically, what's a W, what's a failure with this team? Like with those young guys, point production wise, but also just success rate. Like if this team, for example, finishes 5th and just misses, is that an L? Or like, because I'm a Leaf fan and you know that patience has been like stressed all the time, but this Rangers team, they're skilled enough, but they're also only like, I would say this is their first year out of the rebuild fully. Like last year was that in between, but this year fully. So what is, I mean, New York sports fans can be tough. So what would kind of move the needle or get people excited or get people frustrated? Like what's that mindset?
Excitement's definitely playoffs. And I think that this is a year where, while I don't necessarily feel that the Rangers, it'll be a huge downside if they don't make playoffs, I feel they absolutely do in order to gain more excitement, more trust with the fans, because you can't just have everything change full circle with upper management over the past couple months with the entire motive to make sure that you make playoffs. What you do in playoffs is a completely different animal. You know, the Rangers just crack it. I'll be happy with that and see what they can do. Finally get these youngsters some experience and build off of that in the years going forward. Because this is a marathon, not a race, right? But if they don't make playoffs this year, even by a little, I think that's going to be a huge disappointing year, mainly because of the moves that they made. They bring in JAROD Gallant for the whole focus of having that playoff mentality, developing the young kids, but bringing a consistency in the lineup to get them where they want to be, to have somewhat of any playoff success. And then also just having Chris Drury come in, being, you know, present, being GM, everything now. And they've kicked the can to 2 guys that have great resumes as it was. And I know that I understand why there are things that didn't go right with them, with both JD and Gordon, and things that went wrong, but still, you know, they did a lot of great things for this organization. The Rangers would be nowhere near where they are right now if it wasn't for them. And I don't necessarily think the Rangers did anything so drastic over the offseason that would make you think that this is a completely different team. I think what will really control that is Gallant. So in a nutshell, Ranger fans will be frustrated if there isn't a consistency when it comes to actual time on ice for players, especially the young guys. We want to see given time and in the right positions and to have success, you know, special teams, 5-on-5, wherever it's going to be. And if the Rangers don't make playoffs, people are going to be frustrated, especially because of this huge overhaul and management and the coaching staff in a short period of time. There's a reason why they did it. So let's see results now.
Yeah, I think it was kind of, at least for me, it was shocking seeing them let those guys go.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around it a little bit, to be quite honest with you. It's been a lot. It really has been.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, obviously the question marks can go towards where's the like loyalty, where's all of that. But in terms of trying to make something happen, I mean, I'll give respect to that because, again, as a fan of my team and other fans I've talked to, the most frustrating thing is just running it back with the same people, the same management over and over again and it not working. So maybe the Rangers were too premature in trying to change things up. But at the same time, this is a fresh start and with new management. And I do also want to lead this into, so the Rangers, it seems like, I mean, when they got pushed around last year with the Caps and the Tom Wilson situation, were you about them bringing in a Ryan Reeves and kind of saucing that draft pick over and then a Gaudreau and kind of trying to go for that mentality of let's get a little tougher? Were you okay with that? Because a lot of Rangers fans I saw was like, why do we need this?
I was okay with it as long as it wasn't overkill. The Rangers did everything I think that you could have assumed that they would have done, from the kind of, you know, the reaction it had with the league and everything that parted ways with not just, you know, management, but Quinn as well. So I felt that was inevitable. And that was something that Gordon made note of as well. After his time with the Rangers, I said that, you know, they knew very well that they need to have, you know, more aggression in the lab, just more of physical play. But I also understand the argument that's difficult when you have such a young roster that you're still trying to build and give them ice time. So there's 2 sides of the coin here, but I do believe that the Rangers made good moves. I like Ryan Reeves. I like that acquisition. I like that he's more than a pylon to a certain extent. I don't like when you just have a cone in there. You know, I'm one of those Ranger fans that I've never been in favor of the Michael Haleys of the world, the Tanner Glasses, the Clay McLeods. It's just a waste of a spot. And in my mind, that ruins your fourth line as well, because you can't get any consistent offense going. I really like things rolling. That's just always how I've been personally. I think that's how you have your best success. But you bring a guy like Reeves that can be in for certain matchups. Gaudreau, however you pronounce his name, is perfect in my mind because he's huge on the penalty kill, which is what the Rangers will need, especially after losing a great two-way forward in Pavel Buchnevich to St. Louis. Sammy Blais has some physicality to his game as well. So I think they did a great job. Now it's just the question on how much is this actually going to impact the locker room. But again, as I've said before, I think the players only have so much as a say. I think the coach really holds the most cards here. You see that with so many teams in the league. that on paper, they might not have the most physical looking club, but they play so hard nosed and so tough up against. Numerous years like Tortorella, not just with the Rangers, but with Columbus is a great example as well. Like, you're not pinpointing a specific enforcer on that club or anything like that, but they're just such a hard team to go up against because they have a great defensive awareness from their offense as well. They know how to back check, but they don't make anything easy whatsoever. That's the kind of Rangers play I want to see, and something that to an extent that we can idolize even from our rivals in the Islanders. So that's what I want from the Rangers, and I hope that we get it while also having that balance with the excellent goal scoring and overall offense, which if you see the lineup on paper right now, you best believe that's going to happen.
And I'm glad you brought up the Islanders, because I was going to bring that up and just saying, I mean, Ryan Reeves was just part of a Vegas team that went to the Final Four and went into a better position again. And the Islanders, I mean, the Islanders have been against a lot of analytics people, a lot of people that have kind of talked in a certain way. And I value analytics, but I think a lot of people sometimes forget different aspects, especially when you get into the playoffs, that killer instinct, that getting under the skin, the mental aspect, right? And I think having Ryan Reeves in certain matchups, I mean, when you play the Washington, yes, there's the joke of the Rangers made these moves because of the Washington Capitals. The Washington Capitals own the Rangers, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not just the Capitals. There's a bunch of teams. When the Rangers play the Islanders, it's going to be nice having Ryan Reeves out there to be able to kind of go against a Matt Martin or Cal Clutterbuck. Just having him out there is just, for me, enough. It kind of speaks into a little bit of a presence. You're going to try to knock down Lafreniere. You're going to try to destroy Kakko in the corner. Okay, you'll face Reeves the next shift. So I think just the mental aspect too is big for me in the playoffs. And I guess for you in that Metro division, in comparison to the other teams, so not just specifically obviously looking at the Rangers and their expectations, but in comparison to the other teams and where you see the other teams at, do you think the Rangers have a shot to push for a division spot, or do you think just the competition, like what's your mindset there?
I definitely think that they have a shot. I don't think that they're going to get there because so much would need to go right for them, especially with their young development, because at the end of the day, I know that people are going to say, oh, the Rangers rebuild is over, but they're still developing. This is still such a young, raw club that has endless potential, but they still have a lot of their core pieces in my mind that are going to get them to where they want to be in the process of developing, either just cracking their rookie year starting this season, that being Niels Lundqvist, the young stud on defense, even after Adam Fox just won the Norris, which I'm still so pumped about. But you have all these defensive prospects. You still have some guys offensively, but mainly defensively. The Rangers still have a lot of young guys that have yet to crack this roster over the next couple of years that could be changing things for the better. But where they stand right now, I don't see them winning the division. It'd be fantastic, but I'm going to be realist. I do stand by the notion though that they very well can push for playoffs, because something that you brought up in regards to KAKKO and Lafreniere, while these are rookies and while they need to be protected at all costs, these are guys that are going to be able to defend themselves. Lafreniere is someone that's going to continue to grow, but he's always been a bigger size forward, especially for his kind of skill set as it was. The comparisons to him has always been like a Mikko Rantanen, if you will. But KAKKO, if you look at him right now, he just looks bigger by the day. And I'm honestly concerned for opposing teams when they have to go up against that. He's so Mark Stone-esque with his 200-foot game. He's going to be pickpocketing people left and right, but he can handle his own. So the Rangers, culture-wise, what's most important for them, not just to have, any playoff success at all, but just to crack it, is to really back up one another, something that they haven't done in years prior to nearly the same extent. I think about the Rangers, and especially after Tortorella, when we were done with him, when Alain Vigneault came in, the team just unfortunately got soft in a lot of aspects. They had a lot of defenders that were willing to defend, the team in all in all, but offensively, just no one was really helping out things outside of an enforcer. And you want that culture, you want that next man up mentality that everyone is willing to back up each other. I think we're going to see that. I really hope we do, but that in my mind is going to be a huge X factor for them to have a deep run this year when it comes to just making playoffs. At least, again, I don't expect the division, but if they make playoffs, I'll be more than content with that.
Okay, I want to go over two more things, and one in relation to kind of what you're just talking about. So
Sure.
With Lafreniere and KAKKO, obviously, if you look at that forward group, it's been structured in a certain way where Zibanejad and Panarin really don't play together 5-on-5. So I think they could go with different scenarios, but for your mindset, and then I even look at the power play. I mean, KAKKO, he has a 6'3" size. He has the frame to be in front of the net. He has the hand-eye. What's your mindset? Do you want to kind of run it back and go, okay, consistently, let's put Kreider on the top unit for the power play. Let's get Kreider on that top line, maybe with Zibanejad and Lafreniere, kind of what I think they're already running that in training camp to start. So
Yeah.
Do you want to go with that? Or are you thinking, okay, let's start stacking the lines where we have KAKKO up there. We have KAKKO on the top power play. We have LAFRENIERE up there. We have LAFRENIERE on the top power play. Or do you like the scenario where Strome's in that, Strome's on the top power play? Because that's another mindset. This is Strome's last year on his contract. So we don't know what's going to happen with him. So I guess with that, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm glad he brought power play because it's something that me and my co-host in my Rangers podcast, Steven, we argued about every single time we recorded about the Rangers not utilizing their power play enough, only doing the first power play, the second power play, they only give like 15, 20 seconds a game. So first of all, I want to be balanced because the Rangers have more than enough offensive power to make it bounce both ways. We don't need to have overkill with, say, Panarin and Zibanejad on the same, from what I've seen to this point, while they're both amazing players, two of the better offensive players in all the league, especially Artemi, he's definitely one of the best there is. They don't gel to the same extent that you think that they would. And it feels like overkill. So when you're talking about Strome, for instance, Strome, I think would probably, I don't mind him necessarily on the first power play if that means that only one of Panarin and Zibanejad is on the first. I want them off from another, personally. I would want Zibanejad in the left dot and then second power play Panarin or vice versa. I think that's best for the team just because when we have a righty shot in the right dot, which is what Strome did a lot last year, it just, you don't have that one-timer ability and it really stunts things. Then you could have in the right dot, you can have Lafreniere or KAKKO, one or the other would base, in my opinion, on the power play. Then you have Kreider in front of the net for power play 1 or 2. And then the center position, if say you have Strome on the first power play, the center position for the second power play could even be Goodrow, for example, or Heel. However they want to go about it, that's fine with me. And defensively as well, Adam Fox, I think he's going to get a lot of playing time, of course, there. I also want to see Niels Lundqvist be on at least power play number 2 and get a good amount of reps because he has more offensive potential than Fox has. And that's saying a lot. Given what Fox has brought, I think he's just going to bring a huge tempo defensively going into the offensive zone as a power play quarterback. And Trouba's there, but the Rangers don't need to rely on Trouba for offensive success. So overall, that's kind of my standpoint. I love it when righties stay in the left dot, lefties in the right dot, vice versa, and just not having overkill. Because when you have overkill, then you get gassed. I could count the amount of times the Rangers had like 5-6 power plays a game, didn't even score once, and then David Quinn was overworking having Mika and Panarin together towards the end of the game when we could be balancing things better and make them not look so gassed. And then they have no shot and losing a 1-goal game, whatever it's going to be. So I think, again, consistency, balancing it all is how the Rangers are going to have more continued success. Okay.
So most power plays, you don't want to go the overkill, but I would imagine late game, Wardy down a goal, you're putting Zibanejad, Panarin, Laff, and KAKKO out there.
It's different. When it's late game, I agree. That's a different exception, but I will say I don't want it necessarily every time. Like if we're down by 1, then yes, you want Mika and Panarin out there, but I just want them to get creative, show some trust in these young kids at the end of the day, because that's how they're going to get to where they want to be. And that's how us fans are going to be excited knowing that these guys were given golden opportunities and they actually succeeded. So again, I'm not against it in certain scenarios, but I just don't want it consistently. That's something that I felt we saw far too much of the past 2 years. And I think it's about time it changes. So that way everyone can get some looks, and even to an extent Krasov as well, who I didn't even mention. I would love to see him get some time on power play number 2 in that right dot as well. So again, just balancing it all, I think is what's going to be best for this team and getting where they need to be.
Okay, great. And last perspective, keeping the puck out of the net. So when you're looking, we talked about the defense already, but primarily with the goaltending, I've seen a lot of people, and even outside of the Rangers fan base, just putting a lot of confidence in Shesterkin and being like, this guy could be a top 10 goalie this year. This guy could be even a top 5 goalie this year. The skill level's there. So is your confidence there in Shesterkin to be that next just star for years to come with the Rangers? And then with Georgiev, yes, there's been like trade rumors and stuff, but is this a tandem that you have like full out confidence in?
I have a lot of confidence in it. I can't say that, I'm set in stone, especially with Georgiev, just because he did have a very up and down season last year. And between, the stuff that happened off the ice and on the ice, Georgiev, I hope, has more of a comfortability this year because the Rangers need it. You never want to be too reliant on your number 1 goaltender because, as you see, most teams nowadays have great 1-2 punch tandems that give them success. But Igor, I have the full trust in him. The only thing that's really been holding him back has been injuries here and there. Nothing crazy, but I believe, he's dealt with, hamstring or groin strain when he got in the car accident with Buchnevich. We all know what happened there. So it's little things like that. As long as he can play a full season, then I definitely think Igor can be one of the top goaltenders in the game. And he's going to get, him and Georgiev are going to get more structure in front of them. The Rangers aren't going to be consistently throwing out, guys that are fringe NHL players out there for the bomb pair defense. Like we brought in Patrick Nemeth. He's nothing crazy. The analytics are not going to favor him, but he helps bring stability with the assumption that Niels is going to be on his right side. And I like that a lot. Then you have Keandre and Trouba, which I like a lot as well. A huge size D pair there. And of course, Ryan Lindgren and Adam Fox, some of the best in the biz, and they're still so young. So I think stability is going to be huge for them with the goaltenders. And again, offensively too, I want to make sure that these guys are back checking. I don't care who you are. I just want everyone to be pretty balanced with the 200-foot game. And yeah, I'm excited for the tandem, but especially Igor. He's a guy that I think could really be a Vezina candidate, not necessarily this season, but throughout his career. He's definitely a guy that's going to get a lot of notoriety for the success he's had with the Rangers.
Let's go. I love it. All right, Wardy, man. Thank you so much for coming on. Just here at the end, get Rangers fans just hyped. Tell them or tell everyone what you got coming for your own content, and just you can plug a bit.
Oh, sure. I'll do that. Well, thank you again for having me on. I always appreciate it, my man. Continue the great work. As always, I love watching your hockey content. And again, if you guys want to check me out for Rangers talk, especially I do it at least once a week. It might be more on a twice a week basis going into the season with Statboy Steven. He's like the best Rangers follow you can get on Twitter. He's a diehard Rangers fan that knows everything about the Rangers. He literally is friends with so much of our prospects, including Niels and all these others. He's been scanning them. He does interviews for them all the time through Forever Blue Shirts articles, and he has a great Twitter account. And he lives in Europe, no less. So he's doing all this work when time zones aren't in his favor. But we have a podcast called Rangers Review. We do it all the time on WARDYNHL, but the name of the actual channel will be changing soon. Probably just going to Rangers Review, so that way it's pretty even between him and I. And I also have baseball content. If you guys are somehow, some way Mets fans, we got Islanders fans watching this maybe as well, check me out, WARDYNYM. That's definitely my biggest platform by far. But yeah, again, thank you so much for having me on, my man. I can't wait for the season. Let's go Rangers. And yeah, let's get some stability here. Let's crack playoffs and let's get this thing going.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. Well, guys, go check them out. And yeah, a lot of content streams to come for myself as well. And yeah, hit us up on Twitter. If you got to start some beef or you just want to make a take, we'll get back to you. So thanks for coming on, Wardy. And thanks for watching, guys. Hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and leave your thoughts in the comment section. All right. Peace out.